Alright, YouTube, Stocks by the Numbers, welcome back, and we're looking at Nikola today, ticker symbol NKLA, listed here on the NASDAQ, stock 316, up half a point, little over 18% here on the day. As you can see, I drew out a couple of trend lines. The stock popped and has gotten above our top long-term trend line. Right now it's sitting at $3.17 and has retested this trend line multiple times throughout the day. So obviously, I'm coming to you late. There's about 10 minutes before the close, so you're probably going to see this after the close. But depending on whether it closes above or below that trend line, may indicate maybe another day or two of a little bit of a rise or a potential pullback into the twos, possibly. Oh, I'm breaking shit. But basically, I wanted to pull back here because this was the last time that we looked at the stock. Was back here on March 24th. The stock was around $1.40. I said they weren't doing anything, they weren't worth buying, they were overvalued. The stock dropped to 50 cents. Now, since dropping to 50 cents, as you see, first of all, we formed a big descending wedge, so the stock was inevitably going to pop out of that. And they also had a couple of new deals come in. You had J.B. Hunt pick up, I believe, about like 13 trucks, and now they recently got 16 million grants for hydrogen refueling stations. So now the money is starting to come in. The only problem is that the stock went from 50 cents to over $3. So now, with a whopping, $25 million coming in, the market cap is now back up to north of $2.25 billion. So obviously, you know me, I'm going to say now it's a little overvalued. If you wanted to bring it back up here to like the mid ones where it was, totally understandable, and you can see how long it stayed at that level before breaking higher and taking the next leg up. But in my opinion, here in the short term, you could see a possible pullback here to this fib of about $1.99, around $2. So we could potentially sell off before going higher. The problem, though, is that we have earnings coming up Friday, August 4th. And again, estimates are of only $15 million. So if the company comes in light, I think that they're going to really beat it up and bring it back down a chunk. But even if they meet or slightly beat these estimates, the company is now overvalued, even if they bring in $20 million for the quarter. You ask anyone in the comments section, anyone successful if their business does $10-15 million a quarter, I promise you, no one is offering them $2.5 billion for their company. So that's why, again, I understand the hype behind Nikola. It was heavily shorted. Now shorts had to cover. Boom, we have this massive freaking explosion back to the top trend line. Okay, fair enough. In my opinion, that's enough. But again, that is just my opinion. I'm sure there's going to be people in the comments section who are, hyped about it, and next stop is going to be 580 or whatever the heck. So anything can happen, of course. But this was the long-term trend. Let me back it up a little bit. This was the longer-term trend, as you see, this long-term bearish trend. And I was laying out what can happen in future quarters based on revenue coming in, right? So this quarter, again, about 15 million. That's really nothing to write home about. However, the quarter after that, and of course the one after that, so that's going to be what? Early November, and then that's going to be early January, right? We did this last time, which is why I put the apex here, saying that the stock should technically stay in this range and then have a pop out potentially after the ball drops in 2024. Reason being is because that's when they're forecasting that bigger revenue is going to start coming in, and it's going to justify this valuation a little bit better. So if we switch over here, see, you can see the big jump in revenue here. This quarter, 15 million. Next quarter, up to almost 35 million. And then 86 and a quarter above that, excuse me, and then over 110 million. So right here, if this company was doing this significantly, now you're looking at between like 400 and 500 million for the year. If the market cap was like 2.8 billion, right? Now you're trading like 5, 6, 7 times yearly revenue. It would be more realistic to maintain this market cap up here. You really need this stock to bring in more positive catalyst here at this current level, because it's definitely not worth $2.25 billion here at this level. Again, even if they come in with 20 million, it's still overvalued in my opinion. But I know a lot of you guys are involved in it, so again, I'm just trying to be realistic here, because I know some people got very upset when I made my original video. However, as we see, I was right, and the stock continued to sell off. But now, if these massive forecasts in revenue actually come to fruition, then the stock is seriously going to start climbing higher. Even though potentially it shouldn't in the numbers, there's going to be more confidence in it, right? Because right now, we're seeing extreme inconsistencies here with this company. They come in here with a good beat, and then they come in with 24 million is a great beat, and then estimates go up to 32 million, and they miss completely. And then estimates get significantly lowered to 12.8, and then they miss significantly. So this is what I'm saying. Like this quarter here, again, even if they come in 20, 22 million, in my opinion, still overvalued. Potentially, you could say fair valued, I guess, if you're very optimistic about the company. But it's going to be here and here that are really going to dictate where the stock is going to go long term. Because now with estimates jumping up to 30 plus million, if this company comes in this quarter here, Q3 of 23, with like 9.5 million, guess what? The stock is going to completely tank. If the company comes in with 36.5 million, then obviously you can reevaluate the situation and potentially make the case that the stock is going to go higher. And of course, moving forward as well into Q4 of 23. If they happen to be in line with these estimates, and then we get to Q4 of 23 with expectations jumping to over 86.25 million, and this company comes in with 87, 88 million, then we're going to be off to the races. Now we're really talking about bigger and better things, because supposedly this forecast is going to start really climbing hand over fist from this point moving forward. However, you can see here that we are technically behind schedule, as 2022 estimates for the year of a little below 76 million. The company did a little below 51 million, coming in 33% below analyst expectations. So you can't keep that type of underwhelming data coming out, and you can't keep maintaining that share price. It's just not going to work. So if this company finishes the year with like 90 million in revenue, let's say, now it deserves to be lower, right? Because if you really think about it, if I showed you a company that beat earnings 5, 7, 8 quarters in a row, what are you going to tell me? Well, you're going to tell me they should go up. And if I show you a company that is consistently missing expectations and, underwhelming investors, what are you going to tell me? You're going to tell me the stock's going to go lower, right? So that's why sometimes I know it's very hard, because we buy into the stories. We want it to go up. We want it to go down. But you have to constantly be evaluating your situation. And if this company is just going to consistently come in under these expectations, then really at any point looking at it, analysts are going to say that it's potentially overvalued, and they're going to try to sell it off. The good thing is the bleeding, even though it has been extreme, has come in below analyst expectations. So that is actually a very good sign. But switching over here, you can see the cash flow. The cash flow was 845 million, and obviously significantly dropped down to almost about 200 million in change. We looked at this last time. We have the debt rising, going from a couple of million up to tens of millions, up to north of 380 million. Assets are still outweighing liabilities, roughly 2 to 1. But again, it is going to be the revenue that is going to keep this stock up. Because even if we look at it over on stock charts here, you can see now the RSI has climbed up to almost 74, right? So it took the next leg higher, understandable, but now it just needs to calm down. This basically reminds me of Fubo that we looked at the other day, right? The stock was raging, and then if you look at it today, it's down a couple of percent, right? So you may have a similar situation here with Nikola, where the stock is going to potentially flatten out or slightly go red for the next couple of days, and then of course you have earnings at the end of the week on August 4th. So it topped out here on the top Bollinger Band 313. Right now it's 314, a couple of minutes before the close. RSI again up at 74. MACD did recently cross, of course, because the stock chunked higher. However, in my opinion, it should technically really curl and start to sell off a little bit. Switching over here to the weekly, we can see as well the RSI, random ad, is now up at 67 1/3. So that's why I'm saying you may potentially have a little pop tomorrow, maybe back up to like 3 1/4, 330 or something, and then it'll probably hit the ceiling and start to pull back down with the weekly RSI. We'll probably getting up to 70 plus benchmark level, and then obviously everyone's going to flip the script and try to make money on the downside. MACD has been rising, obviously. Stock's been on a tear for the last couple of months, coming out with some positive headlines, some positive catalysts. MACD is basically the highest it's been going back several years. So that's why it's kind of a mixed bag here. I can't definitively say it's going to go higher, right? Because it shouldn't. The company's not bringing in anywhere near the type of revenue to justify a $2+ billion market cap. But on the flip side, I can't definitively tell you it's going to go lower because you guys love your EV stocks, and no matter where they're trading, you just keep buying them. So with the EV boom coming in, that's what I'm saying. The stock shouldn't even be up here to begin with. So to say it's definitely going to sell off is impossible. Is impossible. Because if this thing is trending on Reddit or whatever, and I'm not keeping up with Wall Street Bets or whatever the hell you people are looking at, and stock twits and all this nonsense, so, the stock could be $5 tomorrow. I honestly have no idea. But the real reality is that it should come down and it should sell off a little bit. We can even check our pivot points here, see what we're looking at. Yeah, and you can see here about 2.5 was the last pivot point, and you can see it fought around that level for several days and then jumped up here. The next pivot point was 331 on the daily, and note the stock only hit 328 and then began to pull back. So I don't know if that means that we may pop up tomorrow and hit that 331 mark and then kind of chill out there before selling off, or if this is now a rejection off of resistance 1 level and now going to pull back and sell off again, potentially back to 2.5, and of course to the mid-range of about $2. Switching over here to the weekly, yeah, these prices are out of control. But yeah, next pivot technically 535. But also, what was this level here? This level 236 was the last pivot point. And as you can see, 50-day moving average of 234. So that may be the level that it pulls back to, maybe around that 230 mark. But basically, again, just in my opinion, if you got in this recently and you jumped in and rode the wave and you got in at $1.30, $1.40, and you were looking for a short-term trade and now you're up more than double, again, I have to remind you this technically is a trader's market. Nothing is set in stone, and sometimes you just have to take the money and run. On the flip side, if you own this basically at this level, obviously you're kind of holding because you're hoping for more. But again, it could potentially come back down into this range, so it might still take several months. But if it does drop to 2 and sub 2, obviously you could always add more to the position. If you own this at a higher price, obviously you're holding. But right now, if you're looking to get in my opinion, I would wait. Okay, markets just closed, and we switch over here to the 1 day, and look what we see. The stock closed right at the trend line. So, technically you could say it's slightly below, but again, also you could say the trend line may not be precisely freaking exact, even though I try to do my best. But let's just say it closed at the trend line, right? So that means now it can either go higher or go lower. But the stock just had a tear and went from 50 cents up to, 3.25, wherever the hell it went. So, they have to go down eventually. And I hate to burst your bubble, but them selling a JB Hunt 13 trucks and them getting a grant for $16 million does not justify this price. I'm sorry, we're still not there. Again, like I said, a couple of months down the road, we turn around, all of a sudden the company's beating estimates of the boosts in revenue that they forecasted, right? So if they start coming in 80, 90, 120 million a quarter, then we can completely reevaluate the situation, just like we did with PSNY, Polestar Automotive, and we can potentially see if it's a buy. Right here, in my opinion, I would wait for $2. I would rather miss the pump up to 380 and then watch it crash back down to sub $2 as opposed to forcing my way in here, seeing it pop up, and then kicking myself in the ass that I didn't take profits and now it's back down. Should I buy more? What's the company doing, right? Because again, they really need to start chunking up that revenue to justify this current valuation. And that's why I originally said that we will most likely stay in this range going out several quarters. Of course, the company could announce anything. Someone, Joe Schmo, could take a position or whatever the heck is going on. But again, I mean, you can't beat me up too much, right? This is when I made the video, $1.40. Stock went down to 50 cents, right? Because we knew they weren't really doing anything. Now, as of late, again, your stock just went from 52 cents up to 3.25, right? So you can't, like, these stocks just can't keep going just because, you know, you own it or you like it, right? I mean, that's what I'm saying. You have to come back to earth here with me. You have to come back to reality for a little bit. So that is an insane move. I know that a lot of people watched the first video, and I know that a lot of people are involved in this one. So listen, you know, I'm sure you guys really needed this move, and I am very, very happy for you because I'm sure you were holding for quite some time. And, you know, obviously when we see our stocks just continue to slide, and then all of a sudden it breaks $1 and it just starts tanking and hitting new lows, I know that we do usually begin to get emotional and stressed out, and then we start, you know, double guessing, triple guessing ourselves. So any of you who were involved, obviously I'm sure you really needed this move, and I congratulate you on the move and weathering the storm. But again, kind of a little bit of an overreaction for a company to bring in $20 million or whatever the fuck, right? 25, 30 million. That's what I mean. Even if it's 50 million, 80 million, it's still an overreaction. And again, you can get mad at me for saying that. Just remember, the last time I said that, you all got upset, and I was right. So, could kind of go either way. Again, right at the trend line, and we're just going to have to see what happens in the next day or two. But realistically, in my opinion, it should start pulling back here going into earnings, and then we have to wait and see what the company reports here at the end of the week on Friday, August 4th. But me, in my opinion, I would wait for $2. As we can see, that's a key level. And of course, hopefully this trend line resistance will bring it back down there. And again, even if you like it in the long term, remember, if it pulls back to 2, you could buy more. You could buy more. I'm talking about new investors, right? This thing just absolutely exploded. So it's not necessarily a guarantee up here at this level that is just going to keep going. So you have to stay sharp with this one, and I know people want to buy into the hype. Oh, it's an EV company, it's going to go up no matter what. Like, you know, I understand that you have that optimism behind it. But again, it all comes back to the revenue. No matter how much you like it, if this company, you know, misses these estimates for the next 3 quarters in a row, you can't, you know, oh, what the hell's going on? You know, oh, what the hell? Like, come on. That's why I say, like, sometimes you have to follow the money, right? You want to invest into companies that beat earnings, not companies that disappoint. But again, 15 million. This is going to be a key earnings. In my opinion, you know, it could reject here this fib 296 and maybe just kind of bounce around this top trend line going into here about the first week of November when they report next earnings. And again, we'll be in this long-term descending wedge still, but estimates again for this quarter are the highest yet at almost 35 million. So I think this quarter may potentially be your breakout quarter. That's the quarter you need. Not necessarily this quarter, even though, of course, you know, it would be nice, would help. This is the key quarter. Because if they can put the highest expectations, the highest forecast, and actually finally start to hit it, then you can see the potential breakout here. And then, of course, if we fast forward to early January, when the next quarter would be, those are estimates of whatever they were, 86, 87 million or whatever, right? Now we're doing 15, and we're going to 36, and then we're going to 87 or whatever the heck. So if they actually report those numbers, then it's going to be a winner. Until they do, right now it's just a hope and a prayer. So, yeah, I guess I'll leave it there. Once again, Stocks by the Numbers. I want to thank you guys for stopping by. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, drop it down in the comments section. I'm usually very quick to reply. Thumbs up helps out the algorithm, helps me get more eyes on the channel. Subscribe to the channel. That is our handshake agreement. I will do updates and review some symbols you guys want me to. I'll try to make some short-term and long-term call-outs in the Discord for you guys. All I ask, handshake agreement. If you're going to watch the content, if you're going to follow my recommendations and potentially take a few and, make yourself a couple of bucks, listen, all I ask, help me help you. Push the subscribe button. That is our handshake agreement. But moving forward, like I always say, I understand that markets are rocky and they're volatile and they're very uncertain. So I want to wish everyone success. I hope everyone makes a couple of dollars. Thanks for stopping by. Catch you guys in the next vid.